mother's house to collect her too. When he got to the old woman's home, he found her cleaning. She had swept the house and was mopping the floor. The dishes had already been done and were stacked neatly in the cupboard. The box for firewood by the stove was full. "What are you doing, Mother?" the man exclaimed. "Don't you know that the Tsar's troops will be here today? Why are you mopping the floor?" Without looking up, the woman kept mopping. Again, her son asked her, "Why are you doing all of this? You might never see this house again." Pausing, the old woman stood up straight and said to her son, "Do you want the Tsar to think I'm not a good housekeeper?" Ministry is an itinerant profession. Ministers come and ministers go, but the church remains, and that is all by design. At least those of us who serve in the wide swath of Protestantism, of which Unitarian Universalism is a part, the minister may serve a particular congregation for a time, but ultimately they serve something much greater than a particular church. Whenever a minister agrees to serve a congregation, they know on the very first day of that service that there will be a final day too. It is unknown whether that final day will come within a year or after many years, but it will come. And on that day, the minister turns over the congregation to their successor. They sweep and mop the floor, walking away from something that they have loved and cared deeply for. It's fitting that you and I should end our partnership in worship, for it was in worship that partnership began. The first time I met any of you beyond the search committee was in this very room. We gathered here because we knew we needed to do something important, something larger than just meeting for the first time. Your spiritual ancestors had been meeting on this piece of land for 377 years without interruption. In those nearly 4 centuries, they had called 16 ministers as their senior minister to lead them, and I was to be the 17th. Like each of my predecessors, I was called to take care of this community for a time, knowing that I would let go of it again when the time was right. I was simply the train conductor, getting us all to the next station. And I wonder how you saw that first meeting. Did you know what you needed? Could you see the ending right at the beginning, too? I had some idea about what was needed here, but to do it was another matter. We have been good for each other, you and me. I have grown and changed and been challenged. We have all laughed and cried and argued and hugged. Our relationship has never been fake, and it has never shied away from what was needed here. Together, we brought down the level of anxiety that permeated the congregation. Together, we built up the infrastructure needed to make our congregation more stable. "You are the church's first modern minister," a standing committee member once said to me. "You see the church also has to be run like a business to succeed." She was right, to a point. What I tried to bring to First Parish in Concord were love and good boundaries. I tried to put in place the institutional structures that would allow it to thrive long after I had gone. I tried to make it more generous. I tried to make it more thoughtful. I tried to make it more kind. Resisting all pressure to be the big, important minister, I sought to give the work of the congregation to its people, empowering lay people to love and serve their church was always my highest goal. And we've done pretty well, you and me. I've seen lay leadership blossom everywhere here. Social action went from being one of the most unhappy areas of the church to one of the most effective. Over the years, the Standing Committee grew in its ability to lead. Religious education brought children and youth and adults into greater service. The choirs flourished, pastoral care expanded, and more people became involved in the care of our buildings and our grounds. Little by little, we built a congregation that could withstand even a global pandemic, a congregation that could live outside its building for 18 months. Now we have a congregation battered by COVID-19, but not seriously wounded. We have built this together. I will take a little of the credit, but most of that goes to you and the rest of the church's amazing staff. In these strange months since I announced my departure, many people have asked me what I have gotten out of our time together. The answer is easy. I have grown tremendously as a minister and as a person these last 9 years. I would not trade it for something else. As your minister, I have learned to do so many things. I'm a better manager of people than I was before. I fundraise more easily. My preaching is better. A clarity about what work is mine and what is not has grown in me. I've learned how to stand up to bullies better. I've learned how to draw out leadership from people who didn't think they could be leaders. You have been generous to me financially, and for that I am grateful. But most of all, I have discovered again that a minister must concentrate on their priestly role. They must have a deep prayer life. They must serve something greater than the congregation, and I have tried to do this too. The day I forget I serve something larger than myself, I will be lost. The day First Parish in Concord forgets it's a church, it will be lost. So my words of caution to you this morning are to be a church. Keep doing what the world needs most from you. The world needs liberal congregations that are unabashed in their theology and generous in their friendships. Just as a self-differentiated minister can be themselves and teach and lead theologically diverse UU congregations, these same UU congregations can know who they are and remain at the table with people of different faiths. The world does not need First Parish in Concord to be another human service agency. It does not need it to be another social justice nonprofit. It does not need it to be a community center. It does not need it to be a beautiful hall for rent. The world needs First Parish in Concord to be a church, practicing its faith and being led by its beliefs. For the truth is, if you practice your faith and follow your beliefs, all the rest will come. If you are church first, then you will soon be a human service agency. You will soon be a social justice nonprofit. You'll be a community center. You'll be a place people rely on precisely because you are yourselves. Go deeper into your own Unitarian Universalism, and it will sustain you like nothing else. Attend church. Be a part of this worshiping body, and your faith will grow. As any of us who have studied the history of this congregation can tell you, the ministers at First Parish in Concord have not always had it easy. I think this morning of the young Reverend Barzillai Frost, once disparaged for being a soulless preacher standing in this exact spot by Ralph Waldo Emerson in one of the most famous sermons ever preached in America. Arriving here at First Parish in Concord on February 1st, 1837, very late into the 63-year ministry of Reverend Ezra Ripley, Barzillai Frost served only 4 years as First Parish's associate minister before Ripley died of old age. He then went on to serve 16 more years as the church's sole minister, enduring Mr. Emerson the whole time. Whenever a pulpit is usurped by a formalist, then it is the worshiper defrauded and disconsolate, wrote Emerson in his famous Divinity School address. I once heard a preacher who sorely tempted me to say that I would go to church no more. A snowstorm was falling around us. The snowstorm was real, the preacher merely spectral. When Ralph Waldo Emerson preached these words in the chapel of the Harvard Divinity School on July 15, 1838, only 1 year into Barzillai Frost's ministry, the 13 men who were graduating that day knew of whom he spoke. Though Emerson was lamenting formalist preaching in general, what must the graduates have thought? Here was the greatest thinker of their time, disparaging a young minister for doing what they were all about to do themselves, lead a church. Like Frost, they would have to juggle the many demands of parish ministry and still be inspiring on Sunday morning. They too would endure criticism in order to serve the higher good. But Barzillai Frost had the last laugh. Emerson may be better known, but each of you is here today because of Frost, not Emerson. You have your church because of Frost. Let no man undervalue Barzillai Frost, said Senator George Hoare. He was a great power and influence in the town for righteousness and good learning. It is reported that though there was a gulf between them theologically, Frost was respectful to Emerson and tried to do his best to serve the congregation. The only lasting proof we have of First Parish's appreciation for 20 years of good service by Barzillai Frost is a beautiful picture that was given to Frost at the end of his ministry. That picture sits here in front of you this morning. The inscription reads, "The ladies of First Parish in Concord, to Reverend B. Frost, for 20 years their faithful and beloved pastor, October 3rd, 1857. Before her death, Mrs. Frost gave the picture back to First Parish, adding the inscription on the back, which says, given by Mrs. Frost to the parish for the use of its ministers successively, October 1891. This picture has been mine for 9 years to enjoy. In a couple of years, it will be given to another minister who has been called by this congregation to serve it for a time, and so it goes. What are you doing, Mother? Exclaimed the man. Don't you know the Tsar's troops will be here today? Why are you mopping the floor? You might never see this house again. Pausing, the old woman stood up straight and said to her son, do you want the Tsar to think I'm a bad housekeeper? We all serve something larger than ourselves. The woman knows she might never see her home again, but she is not frightened. Just as surely as God has been with her every day of her life so far, God will be with her even as danger approaches. Loss and change come for each of us. And if we are wise, we will still do the dishes and mop the floor. It is the greater good that lives on. I have served this congregation as well as I could. There has been much joy amid the struggle. I leave you in capable hands. Remember, it is your congregation. Love it and love each other. So be it. Amen. I have a question for you to ponder. Feel free to turn to someone in the pew, or if you're online, to put an answer in the chat. Let's take a couple of minutes and ponder this question. How have you been changed for good? How have you been changed for good?
Because I knew you, I have been changed for good. These words from the musical Wicked, put to music by Stephen Schwartz.
was beautiful. Gospel choir, you all are beautiful. Let's join our hearts in a time of letting ourselves be open to being changed for good, a time of prayer and meditation. Each week you're invited to share your joys, sorrows, and milestones, and I'm not holding any for you this week, but I know that our hearts are with each other. I do invite you to call aloud or type in the chat any names of people who you're holding in your hearts and in your minds now. And let's sing Spirit of Life together. Will you pray with me? This is a prayer of blessing for First Parish. A blessing with gratitude for our history, for all of the years that this congregation has existed, for all that has brought us here together across the pews and across the miles. This is a blessing for our congregation today, for each of us gathered with the joys and sorrows in our hearts, the milestones of our lives, and the milestones of our congregation. We offer today a special blessing for Howard, a blessing of goodbye. May we be gentle with our regrets and hold with great tenderness and pride our successes in the time that we have spent together. Howard, may you be blessed with rest and rejuvenation, and then with good things coming next. We love you. This is a blessing for all of our future, for who we are and who we are becoming, holding the highest ideals of our faith, justice and liberation and love, love most of all. May we always side with love. This is a blessing for all of us to continue to be changed for good and to serve well our wider world. In this space of blessing, let us linger in quiet, offering the prayers and meditations and blessings of our own hearts.
Good morning. It is the mission of this congregation to engage us to build community, to deepen spiritually, and to work for justice. At this time in our service, we offer a reflection on the ways in which our actions can help to shape the world. When we act in ways that support and hold beloved community, we act for the common good. Sometimes this requires sacrifice. Sometimes it requires courage. Always, it requires love. I'd like to invite Susie Weaver to come forward this morning to share with us about Metro West.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Susie Weaver, and I'm here this morning as a representative from the Diversity Committee here at First Parish, which is the organization here that grew out of the church's certification as an official welcoming congregation. So our June Share the Plate organization is Out Metro West, an organization which provides services and programs for LGBTQ youth in the greater Boston and Metro West area. Their free programs connect these youth with supportive peers and LGBTQ adult role models in order to help them thrive. They have different programs for elementary school, middle school, and high school aged youth, including a separate program for transgender, non-binary, and questioning high schoolers. They also have a drop-in center for grades 6 through 12 at their Framingham location, which provides a less structured alternative to their other programs. About 10 years ago, one of my kids, Cam, who identifies as part of the queer community and who was in high school at the time, attended a group called WAGLY. I think it stands for Western Suburban Alliance of Gay and Lesbian Youth, but I'm not totally positive. WAGLY was the original program that grew into Out Metro West, and that part of the program is now called PRISM. PRISM provides the setting for high school kids to be among peers where they can be themselves, make friends, and be accepted for who they are. For Cam, this was exactly the right place to be. As a parent, I was grateful for this space, and I'm happy to learn now that they have expanded their programs beyond the high school age group and just expanded their outreach. We are fortunate to have Out Metro West as a resource for our greater suburban community that directly serves hundreds of youth every year and many more through community events and training. I hope you will take the time to learn about the organization through their website and spread the word to youth and families who you know who are looking for an inclusive organization that serves the LGBTQ community and whose mission and values align with our own UU principles. Thank you so much for being an ally, and thank you for giving generously.
At this time in our service, we invite you to give generously for the work of this congregation, for all that we do to support those within these four walls and those beyond these walls. We thank you for your generous gifts this morning, which will be shared half with Out Metro West and half here with this congregation. The ways that you can give are listed in the order of service, and you're welcome to give here generously this morning. Thank you.
When a minister has come and served a congregation faithfully for a time, living in covenant and serving well, it is right and good to offer a ritual of leave-taking and release them from their covenant with us. And so we come to that time in our service, a ritual of leaving for Howard. There is a cycle to life. Everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Beginnings are exciting, middles are productive, endings are often thought of as sad. Yet T.S. Eliot reminds us to make an end is to make a beginning. And so even with their sadness, our endings are also exciting.
9 years ago, we welcomed Reverend Howard Dana as our senior minister. Together, we have been changed for good. Howard, you have given yourself to the ministry of this church with enthusiasm and joy. You have listened to our stories and held them in respect. You have worked with staff and so many dedicated volunteers to enrich the life of First Parish.
Howard, you have cared for our children and youth. Your love of the history of First Parish has inspired us to remember our ancestors, giving thanks for their dedication. By creating more space for all of us to be in leadership, you have awakened a greater sense of community among us. Thank you for modeling compassion and kindness.
I thank the members and friends, staff, and colleagues of First Parish in Concord for the experiences I have had these 9 years. I thank you for your love, kindness, and support. I was challenged and stretched by this ministry. My experiences made me a better minister and a better human being. I celebrate the things we were able to do, and I have sadness that there were things I could not achieve.
Howard, on behalf of the congregation, we are grateful that you came to minister among us, growing in your own skills and helping us grow in ours. Your influence will not leave us. For 9 years, you have served us well. We have given you our trust. With regret and affection, we will release you of your responsibilities to this congregation, sending you forth with gratitude and blessing.
For this ministry, I thank you. My heart is full and grateful. I ask forgiveness for mistakes I may have made. I relinquish my ministry with you. I leave First Parish with faith in your continuing work of compassion, care, justice, and love in our own hearts and in the world. I return this token to the congregation that it may be received as a blessing by my called successor.
Please pray with me. Spirit of life, we have been moved by Howard's presence and work among us. We are grateful for his gifts and talents. Thank you for the changes he brought to us in love. Bless Howard as he completes his ministry here. We trust whatever ministry Howard takes in the future will be done well and with great love. May each of us be reminded of our own ministries in the world. Wake us now to new possibilities. Mingle our calling with all who will share. May we work toward a planet transformed by our care. Amen.
Howard, surrounded by our love and our hopes for your future in this wonderful faith we share, you are hereby released from your ministry and with First Parish in Concord. Thank you and Godspeed.
Let us now join our voices together in our closing hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses. It's number 298 in the gray hymnal, or it will be on your screen at home, and we will sing all 5 verses. Please sing with gusto.
Because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Let us join in the first parish benediction that is printed in your order of service or on your screen. Go out into the world in peace, have courage, hold on to what is good, return to new person, evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings. Please be seated for the postlude.
Somewhere in the sanctuary is a card for Howard. If you've not had a chance to sign it,